Good morning, everyone. This is the Joshua Brown News Hour. I am your host, Joshua Brown. This is the podcast for October 11th, 2013. I want to welcome all of our viewers to the show today. Want to get some housekeeping items out of the way. If you'd like to listen to the show and download it, you can go to our website. That is talksports.com. That'll take you to our Tumblr page where you can directly download the episodes individually. You can also check out our show notes. If you'd like to email the show, our email address is talknewstalksports@gmail.com. If you have a certain article or topic that you'd like us to discuss, or if you would like to come on the show as well, you can give us your Skype information, or we can set up a time to have a podcast with you and talk about these issues, either in sports, politics, or news, whatever you'd like to talk about. You can also check out the show by downloading us on iTunes. Just type in Joshua Brown News Hour, as well as on YouTube in the YouTube search box. Just type in Joshua Brown News Hour and you'll find us there. Alright, so let's get started here. So, a lot of different things going on, especially with the shutdown, some new developments there. But let's go over one of the stories that we had talked about a couple of days ago with the Libyan Prime Minister. Just wanted to kind of wrap that one up. So he has been returned. I have an article here from The Guardian. It's Libyan Prime Minister Ali Zaidan calls for calm after kidnapping. Zaidan says Libyans need wisdom after brief but dramatic ordeal that saw him taken from his hotel room by armed men. So, very strange story here because as we were going live on it was now Wednesday night, this story came up Thursday, about 9 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. So really, this whole ordeal was less than 12 hours, and I'm not sure if I don't want to speculate really, but let's get some quotes from the article here. So, Libyans need wisdom, not escalation, to deal with the situation. This is the Prime Minister speaking during a televised cabinet meeting. He's given no details about the ordeal and avoided pointing fingers at those behind the abduction. So, very strange turn of events here to. It doesn't seem like I'm not sure if any outside forces came in and were able to free him, if they had gotten their point across or what, but, very strange for this to not even go on for 12 hours and he come out of it almost, seemingly, unscratched, unscathed. So interesting story there, but that seems to be wrapped up, and we should keep a close eye, on this whole region going forward, over the next couple of months as well. And again, this whole shutdown business is really getting in the way of working on some of these outside affairs that we need to be addressing. But let's go to the Judge Report first. I always like to see what they have on their website, and their top story is surrender, and it's a basically a story here from the AP. There's been some new developments. Like I said, we'll get into that in a minute here, but I wanted to address some other stories that were coming out of the Judge Report here. Before this story of the I guess the budget meeting over the night with the House Republicans and President Obama, there's been some negotiations or some things that have been put out there to the media. I think that's more suggestive of what's really been going on. But the Judge Report had some interesting numbers here, linked to some interesting polls. One of them they linked to throw the bums out, and this is via NBC News. NBC Wall Street Journal poll, 60% say fire every member of Congress. So let's get into the article here. 60% figure is the highest ever in that question recorded in the poll, registered in the wake of the government shutdown and threat of the U.S. defaulting on its debt for the first time in history. Now we talked about this last week, how these poll numbers, when they ask them, who do you want, back in office, or should these people get back in office? We see a lot of this, and no one's really satisfied. But I want to go in here, and I'll link this in the show notes here. There's a website, OpenSecrets.org. They have the re-election rates of the U.S. House and U.S. Senate And this is over, they have it back till 1964. So, again, this is, it says 60% say fire every member of Congress. So Congress, obviously the House and the Senate. But obviously the things that are going on right now are more tied to the House. So, if again, 60%, let's look at the re-election. For the 2012 election, 90% of the U.S. House was re-elected. Now, these are numbers that are coming out here that we're seeing. 60% say fire everyone. 60% of those polled are saying to fire everybody in Congress. That's all the members of the House, all the members of the Senate, just fire everyone. 60% of people are saying this, yet 1 year ago, 90% of House members were reelected. And that's just the House. Again, for the U.S. Senate, 91% of U.S. senators that were up for re-election in 2012 were voted back in. And I mean, this is not; these are not differing over time. This is not new information. Let's go back to the House. 2010, 85%. 2008, 94. 2006, 94. I mean, let's go to the Senate here. 84 in 2010, 83, 79 in 2006. So, I mean, the lowest it's dropped in the past 7 years is to just a shade under 80%. So, these numbers are absolutely crazy. When you take into effect, again, the other day we had the poll, the congressional approval rating, 5%. I mean, who is that 5%? Who is this 95% that is saying that they don't approve? Because where do you get that 95% of people not approving? Again, I think it goes back to everyone else's House and Senate members are idiots, and my guy's the real deal, or my girl is the real deal, and he's the one that is really taking care of business. All these other people, they're baloney. Yeah, because when you say that 5% are doing approving work, how are 90% of these people getting reelected? There's just something not making sense here. So again, these low numbers are obviously because of what's going on with the government shutdown. So let's get to that AP story from the Drudge Report. House GOP, White House seeking end to budget fight. So like I mentioned, the president has been meeting with John Boehner, the House Speaker, and House Republicans over the course of the past few hours here, from Thursday night into this morning. Now this article is again, from the Drudge Report, had the title of Surrender. So, the way that it's already being phrased, and from other articles I'm reading on the subject here, there doesn't seem to be any specific things in place, just saying that they're meeting and that ideas are being tossed around, that there's movement going on, but nothing has been set in stone here. So let's go to the article here. Officials say House Republicans are offering to pass legislation to avert a default and end the partial government shutdown as part of a package that includes cuts in benefit programs. Now, I mean, that right there doesn't really tell us a lot, because they've been offering to pass legislation, includes cuts in benefit programs. I mean, isn't that what they've been talking about with the ACA? Saying that they want to cut the benefit program. So again, this is still not a CR. This is something that they're still asking for, something. Now, again, going from surrender, from the Drudge Report, it makes it seem like it doesn't have to deal with Obamacare, because I have to imagine that any concession that the Republicans make that doesn't involve Obamacare, getting some leverage on that, would be viewed as a disaster by the Republican Party, because they've already taken the hit with the amount of the polling data. Now, again, the polling data has shown that people are blaming both sides, as they rightly should. But I think when it comes to directly looking at the situation from a bipartisan and a rational perspective, obviously the House Republicans that are not voting through the budget and are delaying the debt ceiling process, do have more of the blame here in this specific situation because, again, Obamacare has been voted on multiple times. They've had their chance through the requisite process of the law and of our government, and I wouldn't blame them if they keep trying to fight it, but it has to be done through the democratic process. We're seeing a lot of wanting of a split in the Republican Party, and this is really breaking up a lot of the democratic process, I think. So, again, going back to this, they view anything that's not Obamacare as something that can be viewed as a loss. That's why we have this surrender title coming from the Drudge Report, which really, obviously hurts the situation. But again, going through the article here, senior aides to Speaker John Boehner and Majority Leader Eric Cantor outlined the proposal at a late-night White House meeting Thursday with senior administration officials. In addition to ending the shutdown, increasing the debt limit, the proposal includes an easing of the across-the-board spending cuts that began taking effect a year ago and replacing them with curbs in benefit programs that Obama himself has backed. Among them is a plan to raise the cost of Medicare for better-off beneficiaries. So, from the tilt and the twinge of this article, it's written very much as if Obama is not only getting what he wants from the budget and debt perspective, but also being given things that he already wants. So I think that's why we have that surrender title and kind of some desperation here. Because now we move on to the Huffington Post here, and of course we get a different perspective. So the title, the big headline here is New Ransom Spending Cuts. House GOP offers debt limit hike, end to shutdown and package with spending cuts in the report. So again, it sounds like from an original AP article that I doubt that they were offering him, the President Obama, of course, any additional things in his favor. So when we talk about, cuts to benefit programs, I was a little bit weary there. So let's go through this article here. Well, actually, it looks like this is just from the AP here. Like their commentary is House Republicans have offered an increase in the debt limit and an end to the government shutdown in a package with spending cuts. Well, that was just what the AP reported then. Well, let me get to the main story here, because this story, and again, it's been out there that they've been working together, but CNN has a story on their main homepage, Can Ryan Thread Needle? And so this is very, very interesting because, obviously, they've been talking about, working together, these Republicans and, the president, but CNN is saying that they have some actually inside information of what's being said in these meetings, and that's a little bit different here. So I want to go through this because, again, the title was Can Ryan Thread Needle? And the way that these Republicans have been coming out of the woodwork as they normally do before, setting up their, I should say both Republicans and Democrats do before an upcoming election, but these Republicans are really coming out hard, the way that, Chris Christie had propositioned himself, propped up, and was looking, what Ted Cruz and, Rand Paul have been doing. Now, remember what we've been talking about that article just a few days ago about all the different players in this Republican, and then read, hear what this article says, and try not to, or try to get an idea for what Paul Ryan, where he fits into that whole scenario as well. Because remember, he was vice president candidate just a year ago, so he's very much still in the process. Okay, so here where we get to what's actually being said by the Republicans and the president. So CNN chief national correspondent John King told CNN's New Day on Friday that Ryan said something to the effect of, "Look, we know you don't like our position. We know you probably don't respect our position, but we're the Republican majority." And again, Republican majority in the House. So they're going to be talking one way to the president, another way to their Republican constituents. But continuing the article here, "You're stuck with us for a while," and this is again King paraphrasing what Ryan is saying, and this is what CNN is reporting. "You're stuck with us for a while, at least through the next election season. So we need to learn to have a conversation with each other." And at that point, this is what King is saying, giving his commentary. "Both Democrats and Republicans say the tone of the meeting changed. The president said, 'Listen, I'm not going to negotiate with you until you reopen the government, but go to your members, find out what you need to do to get that part done, and let's try and make some progress.'" And CNN's reporting on the meeting is based on accounts from multiple sources who attended. So, I mean, listen to this. So Ryan is talking, and then King says, "And at that point, both Democrats and Republicans say the tone of the meeting changed." I mean, this is not, these are not new ideas. Let's, again, going to what Ryan is paraphrased as saying here. "You're stuck with us for a while, at least through the next election season, so we need to learn to have a conversation with each other." No, there's no need for that. The conversation has been open, and the Republican majority in the House has tried to undermine Obamacare and the ACA over 40 times. This is not the time to have a conversation, especially at this point with Ryan again coming out of the woodwork, as they all have been, looking to step in. Now, the way that they phrase it, obviously, it sounds like Obama is still doing the correct thing. I'm not going to negotiate until you reopen the government, and there needs to be some talk also of the debt ceiling in there, because that's just as crucial, if not more so. But here's where it gets weird, because you have Republican Representative Steve Sutherland of Florida essentially confirmed the CNN account on Thursday. And this is the Representative Sutherland. "Paul and the president certainly have a past through the last election, and I think there's a great respect between them, and you can't make that up," Sutherland said, adding that the communication between Paul and the president, I think, was an important part of the conversation. So, I mean, this is, to me, it's just coming off as political posturing, and these are not new ideas. Hey, you have to live with us, and Obama saying, "No, we don't. You have to do this before we can even start to talk." So I'm not really sure what impasse was being made, because again, the other news that's coming out is already being shaped in a way as if there's been a decision made, but it doesn't seem like that's the occasion at all. Let's see, this is later in the article here. In a video message to a conservative political summit Friday, Ryan warned the right wing. So now this is what he has to say after he's been talking with Obama, because they don't want him anywhere near the guy. Ryan warned the right-wing gathering that they can't get everything they want with Democrats holding the White House and a majority of the Senate. This president won't agree to everything we need to do. A budget agreement with this president and the Senate won't solve our problems, but I hope it's a start. Now that is very interesting, because obviously, again, I think that the Tea Party portion of the party is in a desperation mode right now. They can sense that the country is shifting to a more liberal and progressive state, and you have a number of different people on your side. Obviously, you're at odds with the president and the Democrats, and the people in the party that you thought you felt most familiar with and comfortable with in the Republicans. You have the Mitch McConnells of the world talking to these senators, Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, in a very demonstrative tone of voice, apparently, in private meetings. You have representatives like this who represented your party as a vice presidential candidate, Ryan, going and trying to gain some goodwill with President Obama. I mean, these are not tactics that are that the Tea Party wants to hear about. They don't want Paul Ryan going to Obama and saying, "Hey, let's make a deal. We're stuck with each other. Let's start a conversation." They want there to be no resolution to this issue. They want the government to be shut down. We know that. We know what companies like FreedomWorks have been doing to set this shutdown in motion and messing around with the debt ceiling and holding it hostage. So, part of me understands that they're in a kind of backed into a corner and obviously need to do things. But, I think what will be interesting from a political perspective is how this is viewed by not only the more established Republicans, the more middle of the road Republicans versus the Tea Party, because that's going to be a huge deal. How does Paul Ryan get perceived? Is he, put into that category, with the Karl Roves and the old school with, George Bush, or is he going to be viewed more with the new school Republicans, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio's and people like that. So, again, this move going and talking to the president doesn't seem like it would get you a lot of points with the Tea Party. So, maybe, especially if this isn't resolved. I mean, if something comes about from this that doesn't involve Obamacare, and Paul Ryan tries to take credit for, breaking down the barrier, and Obamacare isn't attached to it, the Republican, and especially the Tea Party, will view this as an absolute failure. So anybody trying to take credit for failure, obviously, that's not going to work out. Now, if somehow he does do something with Obamacare, I mean, then he might as well be the next presidential nominee for the Republican Party. That's how, popular. That's how hard I think it'll be to get anything done. And that's how important it would be for them. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. And I certainly hope not. So again, CNN is also, not only through that story, but reporting, this is as of 10 o'clock, because it's not 11 yet. It was 10:33 current time, AM Pacific Standard Time. So this was as of 10 o'clock, about 30 minutes ago. An offer by House Republicans to President Barack Obama would temporarily increase the debt ceiling without reopening the government right away. Again, so I mean, these are things, temporarily increase the debt ceiling. So, what is really accomplished by, keeping the government open another 6 weeks? Or, excuse me, raising the debt ceiling for another 6 weeks so we can have this conversation, again in another 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 7 weeks after we've let that one go for another week. And then also saying that this wouldn't even reopen the government. So, it seems like another non-starter, and they're just for that type of deal, they're probably already offering, or wanting something just for that type of deal. So, again, I think it's, obviously the debt ceiling is the most important issue, but there's also some other, things that need to be handled. I mean, the debt ceiling, should be taken care of, but reopening the government should be priority number 2 right after that. And any deal that doesn't include that, I think is disingenuous. So let's go through looking at some other news stories here. So NBC News, their top story, defiant Cruz slams Obama. So all this other these things are going on, and we have the senator, and unfortunately, the subtitle here is "His poll numbers sinking, Cruz ramps up rhetoric." So again, I think just a lot of these stories reference these poll numbers. And while I don't think that they're inaccurate, I'm sure of the polled people, that many certain people did respond the way that they're saying. but I think that these polls are taking the pulse of people, and it doesn't reflect what they do in the voting box. I mean, we can obviously see. I mean, the rates are historic lows right now, so it'll be interesting to see next year what happens. However, the numbers aren't that far off from where they've been before. And again, 2012, 90% in the House, 91% in the Senate. I mean, I can remember in time before 2012 where the approval ratings were in the teens. George Bush's approval ratings were where Barack Obama's are at now. Both presidents reelected. So when you look at these polling numbers, it's hard to say, but obviously, with the incident where Cruz was harassed by some people talking at a speech, and again, I mean that's just, there's better ways to go about that process for guys like him. I think the more the more attention he gets, the more credible he thinks he is. I mean, especially going on the shows like the Glenn Beck program. I mean, let's just have to kind of stay away from things like that. So let's go to some world news now. So this is Sky News. And their top story: Syria rebels parade child hostages on YouTube. So, obviously a lot of things, nasty things going on in that part of the world. But when you have things on YouTube and you have, some nasty things like this, it's so hard to say because, we know when we've seen what Americans put on YouTube, and some of the just stupid, downright, absolutely crazy things that get put on there. Now, obviously, child hostages and bodies and the like is obviously something very different. But we don't want to be put in a situation where we have to make a judgment on especially dealing with military intervention. We can't make those types of distinctions as citizens just based off of these YouTube videos, or any type of one or two videos that show up every couple of months to kind of stir everybody up. So when we see these things, we have to see what we can do from a human rights perspective, and not just automatically think, well, let's send people in there. And I think that's been the process with a lot of these, with not only in Libya, but also in the events that have happened, been going on in Syria. The first process, and one of the things that I think is great for this administration, is you have to take an approach of what can we do from a human rights standpoint first, without just putting, as they say, boots on the ground. So, I think, even though there have been some troubles with this administration actually following through with that, and going in and doing things without telling anybody, I mean, that's certainly, an issue that needs to be taken seriously. But what they've been doing, especially with what's going on in Syria and Libya, I think, need to have attention put on. And when we have things like this going on in our country with the shutdown and with the debt ceiling and worrying about those things, I think it's a lot harder to be out there in the world and see what's going on. So the quicker that these things can get wrapped up from a political perspective, the sooner that we can deal with the world events that need to be addressed. And this is something that definitely needs to be looked at. So that's really it for the day for the news. Again, hopefully this thing with the debt ceiling and the government shutdown can be addressed. I think, unfortunately, no matter what way it falls, if things get cut from Obamacare, I think we're in a bad position. If things don't get cut, I think that the program can be and will be successful. However, if nothing gets taken away, I think that the Tea Party will be very upset, and I think that we will see things going on with the Republican Party. I think that there will have to be a split, and I think that depending on what happens there, because like I said the other day, when you have people, and I try and listen to as many podcasts and as many news outlets as I can a day, and I listen to the Glenn Beck Show every day, and I invite you just to listen to just a few minutes of it, because it will put a perspective of what people are believing. And like I said, think about after you listen to that show for a little bit, and remember that senators have been on that show. American senators have been on that show talking with him and in agreement, and talking about where to donate money. So, very, very scary where this new party can go, and how much they are delusional in this sense. So we have to be definitely on watch for things like that. And again, hopefully this situation can unravel at a slow enough pace to where things can kind of be put under control. But right now, I mean, like I said, when you have any type of discussion being had, and the news is surrender out of that, you have the discussion already phrased and already packaged for you, and you're not able to dissect what's going on. So as the days go by, we'll definitely take a look at that. Again, just to give you the information about the show, the website is talknewstalksports.com. That sends you over to our Tumblr page. You can download the episodes directly in MP3 format. Also has all of our show notes. So all of the articles that I go over here, I throw up a link onto the website, and you can check those out and read them for yourself. If you would like to check us out on iTunes or on YouTube, in the search box for either, just type in Joshua Brown News Hour and you can find us there. If you would like to email the show, the email address is talknewstalksports@gmail.com. You can email us your opinion about the show if you'd like to leave a comment. If you have any particular news articles or anything that you'd like to discuss for news, politics, sports, anything of that nature, you can go ahead and give that to us and we'll check it out. Or if you would like to talk with us on the podcast, if you have some recording equipment and Skype set up, send us your information and when you'll be available, and we'd love to set up a podcast time with you. We can go over some articles, go over some sports, whatever you'd like to do. All right. So let's get started on our sports here. Let me just pull up my information. So a lot of things going on in the world of sports. We're in a little bit of a lull just because of no football during the week, and getting close to the end of the week here, and that's always a good thing. But we have some playoffs, obviously, for the Major League Baseball. So let's go over yesterday's games real quick. So actually just one game yesterday, the Tigers beating the Athletics 3-0. Jason Verlander having just an amazing game, giving up just 3 hits, and I believe the first hit wasn't until the 7th inning, so just playing an amazing game. The A's, another disappointing season. I mean, they played really well, had a great regular season record. So in that sense, it definitely wasn't a disappointment, but for the amount of times that they've made the playoffs, and had a first round exit in the past decade, it's just been really disappointing, and especially the years when they don't even come close to making the playoffs. And you know that they're just in that cycle of every couple years getting into the playoffs, first round exit. Man, it's disappointing, especially being a Northern California sports fan. It can get really disappointing. But the Tigers, I mean, they just look great right now, and the Red Sox also playing well, but it'll depend, because playing Verlander in this Game 5, needing him for that Game 5 last night against the A's, could put them kind of behind the 8 ball. So we'll see how that series starts out with the Red Sox. Tonight we have our first NLCS game of the Dodgers at St. Louis for the Cardinals tonight. Starting probable pitchers for the Dodgers, Greinke, and for St. Louis, it'll be Kelly on the mound. So this should be another, good series here. I think, although many people are regionally Cardinals fans. I think a lot of people will be rooting for the Dodgers, especially going up against the Red Sox. I think those are the two favorites nationally right now. But the Cardinals, have always played well in the playoffs, and the way that their pitching has been, they'll be tough to beat, especially with the way that the Dodgers have played away. I mean, it's going to be tough still, but we'll see. And with the Red Sox and the Tigers, and they'll start their series on the 12th of October, again, it'll be tough because you have Tigers pitching that is so deep, but you don't have Verlander going in your first game here. So, we'll see. Either way, any of these four teams playing, I think, would be a good World Series. So, we'll have to keep checking on that. Also, last night, the NFL, the Chicago Bears taking care of business against the New York Giants, 27-21. Now another game where, unfortunately, Eli Manning just having, one of those games, one touchdown, 3 interceptions. He was 14 of 26 for 239 yards. Boy, that's tough. Jay Cutler, 24 of 36, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is just kind of a Jay Cutler game. Maybe the touchdown here or there, but still, played well. Now they still weren't able to run the ball that well. Matt Forte, 19 carries, 67 yards. Jay Cutler had 3 runs of 20 yards. So 87 yards rushing against a bad New York Giants defense. That's a little bit surprising. But with 3 interceptions from Eli, you don't really need too much more. So again, the Bears have been playing well. They've had a couple bad games, but I think that they're kind of I think that they're better than a 500 team, but I think that they're always going to have that with Jay Cutler because the next game Jay Cutler may be the one with 3 interceptions. There's no really telling, especially with Brandon Marshall. He can have a game like he did last night, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. He may have a game where he gets 3 receptions in the first 3 quarters and then it just doesn't go anywhere in the fourth because of how frustrated he is. So, it'll be tough to see, where they end up because their division is so tough as well. Green Bay, even though the record isn't there, that they're still a tough team to beat. The Detroit Lions, even though the Packers took care of business with them, they're playing in Lambeau. Had some injury problems. I know Calvin Johnson has some injury things going on. And Reggie Bush, you never know when he can get hurt. But they're definitely a tough team. If the Vikings, if Josh Freeman can play well, if Matt Castle can play well, we'll have to see who's starting for them this week. But if either of those guys play well, especially in Minnesota, that's a tough game too. So tough division. We'll see where they go. As for the Giants, I know everyone says how bad their division is, but let's be really serious. The Giants are really bad, and I think the overall general consensus is that they're just bad everywhere. And that's just obviously what we're seeing. It's an 0-6 recipe for disaster. Let's take a look at their upcoming schedule here. So, next week, Monday, October 21st, so they still got 10 days. They'll be playing Minnesota. That'll be a home game for the Giants. So, that right there, that might be their first win. Sunday, October 27th, so the week after that, they've got Philadelphia at Philadelphia. I don't see them winning that game. And then they have their bye. So, they could go into the bye 1-7. And again, no matter how bad that division is, they're not coming back from that. The Redskins have a more likely chance to come back. In fact, let's take a look here. So right now, obviously, they're in last place. Redskins are 1-3. They're in third place. So they just came off of a bye, and they'll be playing at Dallas and then Chicago. So, they could still go 1-5 in that same time period here. But again, then the Cowboys you have at 2-3, who are actually a really decent team. They just had a tough schedule and some tough games, and then they're tied with the Eagles up at the top there. And I think the Eagles are a bad team. We'll see if Michael Vick plays this week, but I just don't think that they'll stay at the top there. So we mentioned a few of the games, but let's go through all of the upcoming NFL games here for the weekend. And again, this is for NFL Week 6, the bye week. Falcons and Dolphins, again, have the bye. So we had our first game, 27 for the Bears, 21 for the Giants. And let's go down the list here for the rest of the game. So we have Packers at Ravens, Bengals at Bills, Lions at Browns, Rams at Texans, Panthers at Vikings, Raiders at Chiefs, Steelers at Jets, Eagles at Bucks, the Jaguars at Broncos, Titans at Seahawks, Saints at Patriots, Cardinals at 49ers, Redskins at Cowboys, and then the Monday night game, Colts at Chargers. So run through each game here a little bit. So the first game, Packers at Ravens. Both teams kind of playing under their expectations, even though the Ravens kind of had lower expectations. I still think that people thought with their receivers and with Ray Rice, obviously, and Joe Flacco, they'd still be a lot more competitive, especially how bad the Steelers have proven to be, and the Browns, even though they've had a success over the past couple games, still don't think that they're going to be world beaters at that level. So at Baltimore, I still think the Packers need this game more. I think that they're going to come out on top. Aaron Rodgers has played well. The Packers have made a few mistakes on special teams that have cost them a couple games, so I think the Packers will take this one out. Bengals at Bills. The Bills have been obviously a surprise team this year, but E.J. Manuel, I don't believe, is going to be playing. Buffalo is always a tough place to play, even when they haven't had good quarterbacks, and the Bengals just seem to be kind of wishy-washy. If they don't have it that day, they just don't have it, and they just kind of get steamrolled. Let's go ahead and let's take a look here, because I do want to see who is playing for the Bills, because I know E.J. Manuel, he was hurt last week. Okay, so this is probably gonna. So we have Thad Lewis, and he's a player from. Let's see, was on their actual practice squad, and he's going to start against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go out on a limb. I like the Bills at home, and I think the Bengals just kind of poop the bed when they don't play at home. I'm going to go with the Bills there. Next game up, Lions at Browns. Again, the Browns have been playing well. Even so, I think the Lions need this game, and I think Matt Stafford will come out and play well against that defense. I'm going to go with the Lions. Rams at Texans. I think the Texans will get a nice game here against the Rams at home. Rams are really terrible. Obviously, they gave up quite a few points to the Jaguars, even though they won. Really, Matt Schaub needs this game. I think it comes at the right time for him against a really flat out bad Rams team. So, if he throws a pick six in this game, I mean, it could get scary in Houston for him. So, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that he can get things going again, especially against, like I said, a bad Rams team. Next game, Panthers at Vikings. With the Panthers, everyone seems to have, a blame somewhere. The coach has been, Ron Rivera has been just absolutely decimated, I think, in the media. People were expecting him to go last year. I think he's kind of overstayed the welcome there. However, we had some commentators on different programs. We're talking about Cam Newton and how he needs to step up. And I do think that there is something to that. However, it doesn't seem like they're really letting him play his type of game, and I think that's so. I think that there is a lot of blame to go around there. With the Vikings, we'll see how it's going to come out. We have Josh Freeman going there in the trade. Let's see if they're going to be starting him. So So it looks like there hasn't been any official word yet. However, and I'll link this NFL. So we have an NFL article here. Michael Irvin says that Josh Freeman should be the starter. Obviously, it's going to be Frazier's decision, but I think a lot of people just wanted to see Josh Freeman get a little change of pace here and change of scenery. And having that running back like Adrian Peterson, I mean, literally the best running back in the league, both of them could be fairly dynamic. And they're in a tough division to start off with, but we'll see. And so I think no matter who they start, I like them against the Panthers. I think Minnesota's a tough place to play. I think the Panthers just don't even know where to get things started. I think that since the beginning of the season, they've just been giving up close games, and I expect them to give this one up as well. Next game, we have Raiders at Chiefs. I really like the Chiefs in this game. Obviously, the Raiders have been playing well. Terrell Pryor has been having some good games. I think Kansas City is an absolutely tough place to play in. Kansas City's defense has been absolutely taking care of business. Have them for my fantasy defense. They have just been going crazy. And I think that, with the noise in the stadium, I think they'll take care of the Raiders and take care of business. Steelers at Jets. I like the Jets for this game. The Steelers just haven't been able to find it at all. And the Jets have actually been playing well. They beat the Falcons. Obviously, the Falcons don't look anything like they did last year, so not really saying much. But again, the Jets and Geno Smith have been playing fairly well, so I like them at home. Eagles at Buccaneers. I like the Eagles here. The Buccaneers have just been kind of toiling all year, and they looked good with Josh Freeman, I have to say, early on in the year. Obviously, they were 0-2 early on, but they were losing games with their defense, and I don't think that their offense was so much of the problem. Certainly not Josh Freeman, but again, you get rid of the player and you got to move on. But I think they're going to lose this week to the Eagles. The Jaguars at Broncos. Obviously, like the Broncos here. For you folks out there that are bettors, it's just a matter of if Jaguars can beat the spread. So we'll see. That'll be an interesting thing to keep track of, how many points the Broncos can put on the Jaguars at home. Next game, Titans at Seahawks. I like the Seahawks here. Obviously, they're incredibly tough to play at home. I believe they have a 10-game winning streak right now going on at home. So the Titans still without Jake Locker. It's going to be a tough game for them. Just to have to stay in it in the first half. If you can, come away within 3 by halftime, I think that's a good moral victory for you. But it should still be a good game because the Titans defense has been playing well, and for as well as Russell Wilson's team has been doing, I think that he has been a little bit disappointing through the air, not so as much through the run game. He's been really good there. Some of the other afternoon games, Saints at Patriots. I like the Saints here. They've been playing extremely well. Their defense is still getting better, but it's already been one of the best in the league. I think when you go against Tom Brady, you're going to have a tough time, but with the young receivers, and without Gronkowski still, that's going to be a tough game for the Patriots to win. I don't think that they can keep up with the scoring, and the weather's, I don't believe is going to be bad there enough to inhibit the scoring that the Saints can put up. Last afternoon game, we have the Cardinals at the 49ers. I like the 49ers here. I think that the past couple games that they've played some teams in bad positions. The Cardinals aren't necessarily that bad, but they are still, I think, a rung below the 49ers. It might be a close game when they go and play in Arizona, but I think for now the Niners will take care of business. But the Cardinals, don't really have the run game, which I think will help because the Niners secondary has been playing so well. But definitely still gonna have to keep an eye on Larry Fitzgerald. You can only kind of hope to slow him down. And the Cardinals defense is actually pretty good. And I think that when you have Patrick Peterson on Anquan Boldin, the Niners are really gonna have to step up on their run game because I don't think the passing game will be there with the Cardinals defense. The Sunday night game, Redskins at Cowboys. This should be a great game. It always is in the NFC East divisional games. I like the Cowboys here. I think that their defense will be enough to slow down the Redskins. I think the Cowboys' offense has been playing extremely well, and I think the Redskins' D is just not going to be able to stop it. Bye week or not, we're going to see the real version of both these teams, I think. And then the Monday night game, Colts at Chargers. I'll go ahead and pick that one already, even though we're still a few days away. I do like the Colts in this game. However, this seems like it could be a letdown game for me. The Colts have just gotten through some really, really tough teams. I mean, obviously beating the 49ers of San Francisco and the Seattle Seahawks, two of what were the projected top three teams after week 2 in the NFL. So obviously still early on, but they've played extremely well. Luck has been great for them. Richardson, the running back who they picked up via trade from the Browns, he has been playing really well. And the Chargers, they do play well at home. Phillip Rivers is having a comeback year. However, they just seem to have problems. They take games off. They just lost to the Raiders, who, albeit are playing a lot better, but still, they're the Raiders right now, and they're not at that peak yet. We all thought, I think, that the Chargers had a little bit more in them. So I like the Colts, but it could be a letdown game just because of the competition that they've been playing. So on tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about, obviously, if there's any news from the shutdown, we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking some fantasy football. We'll be talking injuries, and obviously some of the college games that are going on tomorrow as well. So definitely check us out for that. Just to end up the show today, I would like to remind everybody to check us out, talknewstalksports.com. You can download the episodes directly. Check us out on iTunes, YouTube. Enter into the search category Joshua Brown News Hour. And if you'd like to email us, talknewstalksports@gmail.com. Send us articles so we can talk about it. Send us feedback. We'd love to hear back from you. And also, of course, send us your Skype information and we can set up a time and have a podcast so we can go over any topics, news, sports, politics, anything you'd like to talk about. All right, so thanks to everybody for listening and have a great rest of your day.